In this video, we're going to be talking about bootstrapping. Alright, so remember for confidence intervals, you talked about how if we were to repeat the process of sampling many times, and generate its confidence intervals in the same way, 95% of those confidence intervals would contain the true population parameter. So this is the interpretation for confidence intervals. Right? So how do we get this though if we only have one sample, right? We're only taking one sample from the population, right? We can't do this process of sampling many times. How are we going to get this confidence interval if we, just have the data from one sample? And the answer is with bootstrapping. Right, so bootstrapping is a process of resampling from original sample with replacement to generate many new samples. Basically, we use these many new samples to calculate a statistic, for example, a mean or median or anything, and then construct a confidence interval based on each of these statistics. So basically, we can resample maybe 1,000 times, and basically, we're going to get 1,000 means out of each of these resampling processes. So we take that 1,000 means, and we just kind of take the middle 95%, and that'll be our 95% confidence interval. We could take the middle 99%, and that would be our 99% confidence interval. So basically, we can kind of generate the confidence interval in this way. Just to kind of graphically show how this is done, right? So we have this population distribution, right? So on the very left-hand side, you have that population distribution. And we don't actually observe this. What we do observe is the sample distribution, and that's in the middle. And basically, we should expect that to look roughly the same, right? Because just because we're just taking a random sample from the population, the sample should closely resemble, maybe not exactly, but it should kind of resemble roughly that population, as long as our sample size is large enough. And what we do is we take a sample from that sample. Remember, we don't have the population, we only have the sample, with replacement. And the reason for that is because, what I just said, the sample should kind of resemble the population. As long as the sample size is large enough, the distribution in the sample should be somewhat close to the distribution in the population. And so what we're going to do is we're going to resample from the sample. It's kind of like treating the sample that we've taken as a population, just kind of with more, members or more observations. And that's why we're doing this sampling with replacement. And so what we get are these bootstrap samples on the right-hand side. So there's many of these bootstrap samples, the resamples on the right. So from each of these, we're going to calculate, for example, a mean. And then we can use those to kind of generate our interval estimate for the mean, or our confidence interval for the mean.